Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Krishna
Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome to this week's Youth Jam session. I hope you're all doing very well today. Um, so we'll just go over the brief schedule for today. We're going to start off with a little bit of Chad reading. As per usual, we'll be doing Bhagavad Gita chapter 7. Then we'll roll into some Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita reading. And then we'll be having a special presentation by His Grace Vaisheshika Prabhu on the story of Valmiki Muni, I believe. And then he is running a little bit late today, but he'll be joining us shortly. And then we'll be going into a very exciting discussion breakout room session. So stay tuned for that. And then, of course, we'll wrap up with some reflections at the end and a prayer. So we'll also start with a prayer. And as per usual, we'll have someone nominate another devotee in the call. So would anyone like to make the nomination for today? I believe Manya just nominated Gia in the chat, and that was also seconded by multiple people. Gia, are you available to do the prayer?
Yeah. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
The prayer, okay, at the beginning, wait. Dear Shri Shri Radha Sham Sundar, Shri Shri Kishore Kishori, if you so desire, let us all engage in this youth jam with full devotion and full heart, and let us all take each other's association, and please consider our humble request. Yes. Sorry.
Yeah, I know that was great. You did such a wonderful job. Thank you so much for that sweet prayer. All right. So I believe we're starting with the Bhagavad Gita chapter 7, but right before that, I just wanted to say that if you're new and you're joining us for the very first time, please reach out to one of us. So my name is Tungavidya Devi Dasi. We also have Parth, Brajarasa Pavana, Chaitanya Nitai Nama, and some other and Adriraj. So please reach out to any one of us and we will try to welcome you to the group. We're so happy to see you here. Well, with that, we can transition into the Bhagavad Gita for today.
Hare Krishna, everyone. For Chad, if you would like to recite the Sanskrit, you can raise your hands, and then we'll go back and do translations after. So I'll start off with the first 5, and then we can just continue starting with Navya. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Maya Shakta Mana Partha Yogam Yunjan Madashrayah Asamshayam Samagramam Yathanyakyashi Chachunu Jnanam Teham Savijnanam Idam Vyakshyami Yasheshatah Yajñatva Neha Bhuyo Nyaj Nyathyatvam Avashishyate Manusyanam Sahasreshu Kaschid Siddhaye Yatataamapi Siddhanam Kaschin Veti Tattvataha Bhumirapo Nalo Vayu Kamano Bhudirevacha Ahankara iti yamme Bhina Prakritirashtadha Apareyamitastvanyam Prakritim Vidhime Param Jiva Bhutam Mahabaho Yayedam Dharayatyagat. Navya, you can continue.
एताद्यूनीनि भूतानि सर्वनन्ति उपाधरा अहं कृत्स्नस्य जगत्ता प्रभावा प्रलयस्तथा मत्ता परतरं नान्यत् किञ्चिदस्ति धनञ्जय मयि सर्वमिदं प्रोतं सूत्रे मणिगणा एव रसोऽहमप्सु कौन्तेय प्रभास्मि शशिसूर्यो प्रणवः सर्ववेदेषु शब्दके परुषं निषु पुण्यो गन्धः पृथिव्यां च तेजश्चस्मि विभाववसु जीवानां सर्वभूतेषु तपश्चस्मि तपाविभूषु बीजां मां सर्वभूतानां विद्धि पार्थ सनातनं बुद्धिर्बुद्धिमतम् अस्मि तेजस्तेजस्विनम् अहम्
बलं बलवतां चाहं कामरागविवर्जितं धर्मविरुद्धो भूतेषु कामोऽस्मि भरतर्षभ ये चैव सात्विका भावा राजसस्तामसश्च ये मत्त एवेति तान् विद्धि न त्वहं तेषु ते मयि त्रिभिर्गुणमयैर्भावैर् एवि सर्वम् इदं जगत् मोहितं नापि जानाति मामेव्य परमव्ययम् दैवी ह्येषा गुणमयी मम माया दुरत्यया माम् एव ये प्रपद्यन्ते मायाम् एतां तरन्ति ते न मां दुष्कृतिनो मूढा प्रपद्यन्ते नराधमा मया पहृतज्ञाना आसुरं भावमाश्रिता
चतुर्विद्या भजन्ते मम जना सुकीर्तिनोऽर्जुन अर्थजिज्ञासुरर्तार्थी ज्ञानी च भरतर्षभ तेषां ज्ञाने नित्ययुक्ता एकभक्तिर्विशिष्यते प्रियो हि ज्ञानिनो व्यर्थम् अहं स च मम प्रियः उद्धार सर्वैवैते ज्ञानित्वात्मैव मे मतम् आस्थितः स हि युक्तात्मा मामेवानुत्तमां गतिम् बहूनां जन्मनां मन्ते ज्ञानवान् मां प्रपद्यते वासुदेवः सर्वमिति स महात्मा स दुर्लभः कामस्तैस्तैर्तज्ज्ञान प्रपद्यन्ते न्यदेवता तं तं नियमम् आस्ताय प्रकृत्या नियता स्वया
Sorry, I don't think we can hear you. Chaitanya, would you like to continue while she's fixing her mic?
Sure. यो यो यां यां तनुं भक्तः श्रद्धयार्चितुमिच्छति तस्य तस्याचलां श्रद्धां तामेव विदधाम्यहम् सतया श्रद्धया युक्तस्तस्याराधनमीहते लभते च ततः कामान् मयैव विहितान् हितान् अन्तवत्तु फलं तेषां तद्भवत्यल्पमेधसां देवान् देवयजो यान्ति मद्भक्ता यान्ति मामपि अव्यक्तिं व्यक्तिमापन्नं मन्यन्ते मामबुद्धयः परं भावमजानन्तो ममाव्ययमनुत्तमम् नाहं प्रकाशः सर्वस्य योगमाया समावृतः मूढोऽयं नाभिजानाति लोको माम् अजमव्ययम् वेदाहं समतीतानि वर्तमानानि चार्जुन भविष्यानि च भूतानि मां तु वेद न कश्चन इच्छाद्वेषसमुत्थेन द्वन्द्वमोहेन भारत सर्वभूतानि सम्मोहं सर्गे यान्ति परन्तप येषां त्वन्तगतं पापं जनानां पुण्यकर्मणां ते द्वन्द्वमोहनिर्मुक्ता भजन्ते मां दृढव्रतः जरामरणमोक्षाय मामाश्रित्य यतन्ति ये ते ब्रह्म तद्विदु कृत्स्नम् अध्यात्मं कर्म चाखिलम् साधिभूताधिदैवं मां साधियज्ञं च ये विदुः प्रयाणकालेऽपि च मां ते विदुर्युक्तचेतसः ॐ तत्सत् इति श्रीमद्भगवद्गीतासूपनिषत्सु ब्रह्मविद्यायां योगशास्त्रे श्रीकृष्णार्जुनसंवादे ज्ञानविज्ञानयोगो नाम सप्तमोऽध्यायः हरि ओम्
Thank you, everyone. So we can start with the translations. We'll do 3 translations each, and raise your hand if you like to read. I'll read the first 3, and then we can continue from there. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, Now hear, O son of Pritha, how by practicing yoga in full consciousness of me, with mind attached to me, you can know me in full, free from doubt. I shall now declare unto you in full knowledge, both phenomenal and numinous. This being known, nothing further shall remain for you to know. Out of many thousands among men, one may endeavor for perfection, and of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. Rajaras Bhavana.
Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. Altogether, these 8 constitute my separated material energies. Besides these, O mighty armed Arjuna, there is another, superior energy of mind, which comprises the living entities who are exploiting the resources of this material inferior nature. All created beings have their source in these 2 natures. Of all that is material and all that is spiritual in this world, know for certain that I am both the origin and the dissolution. O conqueror of wealth, there is no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread. Sorry, I think I went one over.
O son of Kunti, I am the taste of water, the light of the sun and the moon, the symbol Om in the Vedic mantras. I am the sound in ether and ability in man. I am the original fragrance of the earth, and I am the heat in fire. I am the life of all that lives, and I am the penances of all ascetics. O son of Pritha, know that I am the original seed of all existence, the intelligent of the intelligent, the intelligence of the intelligent, and the prowess of all powerful men.
Ryan.
I am the strength of the strong, devoid of passion and desire. I am the sex life, which is not contrary to religious principles. O Lord of the Bharatas, Arjuna. Know that all states of beings, be they of goodness, passion, or ignorance, are manifested by my energy. I am, in one sense, everything, but I am independent. I am not under the modes of material nature, for they, on the contrary, are within me. Deluded by the 3 modes, goodness, passion, and ignorance, the whole world does not know me, who am above the modes and exhaustible.
This divine energy of mind, consisting of the 3 modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome, but those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. Those miscreants who are grossly foolish, who are lowest among mankind, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, and who partake of the atheistic nature of demons, do not surrender unto me. O best among the Bharatas, 4 kinds of pious men began to render devotional service unto me: the distressed, the desirer of wealth, the inquisitive, and he who is searching for knowledge of the absolute.
Navya, if you're there.
These, the one who is in full knowledge and who is always engaged in pure devotional service is the best, for I am very dear to him, and he is dear to me. All these devotees are undoubtedly magnanimous souls, but he who is situated in knowledge of me, I consider to be just like my own self. Being engaged in my transcendental service, he is sure to attain me, the highest and most perfect goal. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare.
Those whose intelligence has been stolen by material desires surrender unto demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures. I am in everyone's heart as a supersoul. As soon as one desires to worship some demigod, I make his fate steady so that he can devote himself to that particular deity. Endowed with such a fate, he endeavors to worship a particular demigod and obtains his desires, but in actuality, these benefits are bestowed by me alone.
Men of small intelligence worship the demigods, and their fruits are limited and temporary. Those who worship the demigods go to the planets of the demigods, but my devotees ultimately reach my supreme planet. Unintelligent men, who do not know me perfectly, think that I, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, was impersonal before and have now assumed this personality. Due to their small knowledge, they do not know my higher nature, which is imperishable and supreme. I am never manifest to the foolish and unintelligent. For them I am covered by my internal potency, and therefore they do not know me, that I am unborn and infallible.
O Arjuna, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I know everything that has happened in the past, all that is happening in the present, and all things that are yet to come. I also know all living entities, but me, no one knows. O Scion of Bharata, O conqueror of the foe, all living entities are born into delusion, bewildered by dualities arisen from desire and hate. Persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, and whose sinful actions are completely eradicated, are freed from the dualities of delusion, and they engage themselves in my service with determination. Intelligent persons who are endeavoring for liberation from old age and death take refuge in me in devotional service. They are actually Brahman because they entirely know everything about transcendental activities. Those in full consciousness of me, who know me, the Supreme Lord, to be the governing principle of the material manifestation of the demigods and of all methods of sacrifice, can understand and know me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even at the time of death. Om Tat Saditi Srimad Bhagavad Gita Upanishatsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Sambhade Gyan Vigyan Yoga Nama Sattamo Dhyayaha Hari Om. Sorry for being late, everybody. I had a program downtown San Francisco, and they wanted me to show them the old temple from 1973. So we walked downtown. That's pretty scary down there. Anyway, it took a little while to get back, but I'm glad I made it. Good to see you all. Hare Krishna. Nice, you did your Chad.
Yes, Maharaj. I think next we have Tunga Vidya with,
Hare
sorry.
Krishna. Sorry, I believe we're doing Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita. So, whoever is in charge of the slides, could you please pull that up? And the way this will go is that we'll just have pretty much the same way as we do the translations for shloka sets, is that you can raise your hand and then you can each read 2 paragraphs, I think. So I can start and then we'll go from there. No, Abhay said, find another building. Abhay argued that his work was not just for a section of people, but for all living beings. Suryamukhi left frustrated. Abhay was surprised that a member of the League of Devotees was now working against him, and the maneuver was being backed by the governor's wife. Mrs. Munshi could work at a much more influential level, without having to confront Abhay directly and without his even knowing what she was doing. After she talked with Mr. Bayal, word got around that Mr. Bayal had been pressured to persuade Abhay Charan to relinquish his claim on the Bharati Bhavan. Mr. Bayal owned a cinema house in Jhansi, and there was talk that he could have a lot of difficulty with his operator's license unless Abhay Charan vacated the Radha Memorial. Navya?
December 1954, Mrs. Munshi wrote Abhay in reference to his failure to raise the 5,000 rupees. Dear Bhaktivedantaji, she wrote, you want to organize there, but you could not. I have got this institution, Mahila Samiti. Why not give it to me? Abhay was of a mind to resist. He had loyal friends who advised him that even though he was opposed by the governor's family, he had a good case that would stand up well in court. India's tradition of respect for religious buildings was on his side. Abhay replied to Mrs. Munshi, introducing himself as the founder of the League of Devotees. He explained the goal of the League, enclosed a copy of his prospectus, and presented many statements by prominent people. Dr. Rajendra Prasad, Sri Sitaram, Raja Mahendra Pratap, and even her husband, Sri K. M. Munshi, praising the wonderful work of the League of Devotees. He also mentioned that the president of the League had recently received 100 rupee donation in Mathura from His Excellency the Governor, Mr. Munshi himself. Abhay said that although work had been going slowly but peacefully in Jhansi, his mind had now been bothered by Mrs. Munshi's negotiations. He requested her not to pressure anyone about his occupying the Bharati Bhavan, though he admitted, if you or any one of your agents do try, the pressure will be more weighful. I am a non-entity in that comparison.
Abhay hoped that his presenting the details of his league. Abhay hoped that by his presenting the details of his league, she would understand that his was a better cause than the Mahila Samitri. He quoted the first 3 verses of the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, wherein Lord Krishna describes how the ancient science of Bhakti Yoga is received through parampara, the order of succession from one teacher to the next, and how kings are responsible for seeing that Krishna consciousness spreads for everyone's benefit. He also argued that since, according to Bhagavad Gita, only a few amongst thousands and thousands of men endeavor for self-realization, and since the League of Devotees engaged its members in self-realization, he was providing an important and rare service. He offered to meet with Mrs. Munshi, along with some 15 sannyasis from the area, and suggested that she work cooperatively with them and understand the importance of the League. The League of Devotees was benefiting all classes, as Sri Krishna had said in Bhagavad Gita. Even one of low birth can attain the shelter of the Supreme Lord. But the Mahila Samitri Abai pointed out, was based on bodily conceptions of caste, creed, color, and sex. Therefore, it could not be as important a cause. Abai closed by requesting Mrs. Munshi not to try to occupy the Radha Memorial, which was already being used for a noble and well-appreciated cause. He signed A.C. Bhaktivedanta, founder and secretary, League of Devotees. Aware that he was involved in an intrigue, Abai organized his thoughts and set down on paper a short history outlining important events surrounding his possession of the Bharati Bhavan.
Indira? I don't think we can hear you. All right, Rajasapavana?
Should I read the entire short history?
Yeah, I think so.
Short history. Number 1. I came to Jhansi sometime in October 1952. Number 2. I delivered some lectures at Gita Mandir on Gandhi Jayanti Day, 1952. 3. Made acquaintance with Prabhakar Shastri. 4. My idea of League of Devotees implemented. 5. He took me to Reva Shankar for Bharati Bhavan. 6. Sri Reva Shankar agreed to hand over the Bharati Bhavan to the League of Devotees, and he agreed to become a member of it in the presence of Prabhakar, Mitraji, and myself. 7. I write letters from Allahabad to confirm. 8. He confirmed my letter on October 12th, 1952. 9. Prabhakar intimated the desire of Reva Shankar on January 1st, 1953. 10. I got the document needed for League of Devotees and came to Jhansi for signature of the members. Reva Shankar signed and agreed to become an executive member. 11. The document was submitted for registration on April 2nd, 53 at Lucknow, returned on October 10th, 53. The League of Devotees ceremoniously started on, oh wait, I've been reading them wrong. So 16th of May, 1953, and work began. So I'm occupying the building since then and continuing my work.
Chaitanya Nityanam?
Abhay went on to enumerate more than 30 points, including news publicity and congratulations he had received. He listed the story of how he came here sacrificing my business and family. I received a telegram from Allahabad instructing the news of burglary by breaking lock. I could not attend the business for work here, and it was closed subsequently at a loss of 7,000 rupees. Abhay thought of turning to some of his sannyasi godbrothers for help. If he or they could purchase the buildings, his competitors would be silenced. He thought it worthwhile to entrust his godbrothers in purchasing the buildings as an adjunct to their own missions.
Vrindavan was not far away, a 4-hour train ride to Mathura, and then a short Tanga ride. He had gone there on pilgrimage in October of 1953, and had even looked at an unavailable room in a temple near Keshi Ghat, with the idea of staying there someday. He had also traveled there several other times since he had begun residing in Jhansi. This time he went to the Imli Tal temple to see if his godbrother Bhakti Saranga Goswami and ask if he would like to take over the proprietorship of the Bharati Bhavan, so that it might be used for preaching Krishna consciousness according to the teachings of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. But Bhakti Saranga Goswami was not interested. After approaching another godbrother, Damodar Maharaj, who was also not interested in Jhansi, Abhay took the short Tanga ride back to Mathura to see another godbrother, Keshava Maharaj. Keshava Maharaj was in Mathura with a group of his disciples to establish a center, but he had not yet located a suitable place. So when Abhay told him about the buildings in Jhansi, he was interested. Abhay and Keshava Maharaj composed a letter to Mr. Bhayal, presenting their requests and the aims of their movement, and then traveled to Jhansi in a group, Abhay and Keshava Maharaj with his disciples. Keshava Maharaj and his party stayed for several days in Jhansi, holding kirtans and lectures. They had an appointment with Reva Sankar Bhayal, but Mr. Bhayal broke it, so they had to wait to see him on another day. Meanwhile, Keshava Maharaj had time to form an opinion of Jhansi and discuss with Abhay the likelihood of making this his headquarters. He noted that the people were receptive, but that the location was too remote. Even before meeting with Mr. Bhayal, Keshav Maharaj felt reluctant to stake his whole mission in Jhansi. Abhay agreed, aware that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati had said that a preacher should go into the big cities and not practice his bhajan in seclusion, and he admitted that after 2 years in Jhansi, he had made no full-time followers.
When they finally met with Mr. Pyle failed to present clear terms for purchasing the property. He said they were eligible to buy it, but he made their use of buildings conditional. He wanted to have a say in the nature of programs they would hold. Abhay knew this was just a further sign of shady dealings, and he suspected that Mr. Pyle was under mounting pressure to give the buildings over to Mahila Samiti. Keshav Maharaj, having lost all interest, decided to go back to Mathura, and he invited Abhay to join him. But Abhay remained. Mr. Pyle wanted him out, and he even returned Abhay's deposit of 210 rupees, claiming that Abhay now had no justification for residing at the Bharati Bhavan. Abhay noted down the latest events in his short history. 29. He has also given me a check for 210 rupees in lieu of my deposit money with him, but he has no money in the bank. The bank has returned it with remark. 30. The money which was given to him was misappropriated by him for his own purpose, and now he has given a false check with an arrangement with the bank. 31. It is plain cheating to me from the beginning to the end. 32. I must be compensated for all the money before I can leave the buildings.
But he saw it as inscrutable will of Krishna. Events and opinions were turning him against conducting a mission in Jhansi. It no longer seemed auspicious. Srila Prabhupada, I wanted to start from there. It was a nice big house. It was not given to me rightly, but I was using. So somehow or other, she got imagination that this house is very nice. She was the governor's wife. Through collector and through government officials, she made pressure. So, of course, there were many lawyer friends. They advised me, you do not give up. But I thought, who's going to litigate? I thought that I have left my home and now I should take up litigation. No, I don't want this house.
Srila Prabhupada. Oh, Abhay remembered how the Gaudiya Math preachers had expended their energy for years in the courts. Having terminated his long entanglement with family and business, he had no taste for a legal fight. He could have fought, but he remembered what Keshava Maharaj had said about Jhansi's being out of the way. Of course, the whole thing had just sprung up here. Otherwise, Abhay would never have chosen to establish his worldwide league in such an obscure place. The educated young men and women wished him well, just as they had good wishes for the Ladies' League, the Theosophy Society, the Arya Samaj, and many other causes. But their good intentions were certainly short of pure surrender and devotion. Even as one disciple could offer him only part-time help, but these considerations had not been sufficient to force him out. The real thing was that he was being driven out. Srila Prabhupada, if I did not leave, no one could drive me. That was a fact. But I thought, who is going to litigate these things? It is a governor's wife, and she is pressing through collector. The manager who is in charge, he had some cinema house. So they had to renew the license, and the collector pressed him that unless you arrange for this house, we are not going to renew your license. I thought, unnecessarily this man will be in trouble. I will have to pay many rupees, and she is the governor's wife.
He decided to leave. He told his friends to carry on the League of Devotees in his absence. They were sad to see him go, and yet even some of his friends openly praised the work of the Ladies' Society and were glad to see it come. They had not been able to help him financially, although they knew he had been unable to purchase the buildings on his own. His closer followers were more affected, but he assured them that their relationship would continue. He would write letters to them, Acharya Prabhakar, Radhelal Mullik, Mr. Mitra, Dr. Shastri, and he gave them instructions on what they should do, especially Acharya Prabhakar. Abhay told him that he would be calling for him and expected him to continue as secretary of the League of Devotees, even if they didn't make Jhansi their main residence. Yet it was obvious that this chapter of making ambitious plans for world movement, going from house to house and village to village, performing Sankirtana, lecturing on the Gita, distributing prasadam, this was ended, and it was not likely that he would return or that the residents of Jhansi could expect to see him again.
When Abhay left the Bharati Bhavan with its 6-foot high lettering, League of Devotees, painted across the outside wall, he felt sad. It had been a natural, spontaneous success for him. The young, educated people of Jhansi had looked up to him from the start, and had it not been for the intrigue, he would never have left. But he felt he had no real choice. He had come as a family man on business and was leaving as a homeless Vanaprastha, forced to take shelter of Krishna. His plans were uncertain, but his desire was strong and his health was good. So he moved on to Mathura, carrying with him the deity of Lord Chaitanya. Chapter 8, New Delhi, Crying Alone in the Wilderness. I have got
I
the
will,
Haribol.
sorry to interrupt, but we're gonna end here actually for today. But yeah, thank you to everyone who read. And now we'll hand it over to His Grace Vaisheshika Prabhu for his presentation.
Well, thank you very much. I was asked to give a presentation today related to Lord Ramachandra. So I have a short bit to present to you today. Now, before I speak about this, I had been writing something about the holy name and was interested in the story behind this. And I did a little research and found a scholar in Mayapur, one of our devotees, who found the original text from the Padma Purana to present this story. And I've kept it in the storyline as accurate as possible. Actually, in the story, there's in the Padma Purana, it's fairly short. There's other writings, but this is authoritative directly from the Padma Purana, the direct Shastric references here. And I hope you like it. Krishna 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 Hey Rama Raghava Rama Raghava Rama Raghava Rakshamam. That's it. That's all we get. I hope you appreciated and enjoyed the presentation for today. Oh, here we go. Okay, this was inspired by Bhakti Manya because she had commented on something I had mentioned during the Japa Jolt a while back about how by chanting Hare Krishna, one receives crystal clear instruction from within by the power of the holy name. So we decided to call this From Darkness to Crystal Clear. And this is the story of Valmiki Muni. And the way the story opens in the Padma Purana is that Valmiki Muni, now an established great devotee and sage, goes to meet Sitaram and Lakshman, who had been exiled to the forest. He's eager to tell them his story. I'll tell you when to turn the slide, otherwise we'll. He's eager to tell them the story of his life and how he came to be their devotee. And he meets them on a mountain and then begins to tell the journey he's been on. According to the Padma Purana, Valmiki had an obscure beginning because no one quite knew who his parents were. There were some rumors about how he had Brahminical parents, but somehow or other he had been estranged from them as a baby. He was raised by a hill tribe called the Kiratas. And you've probably heard of the Kiratas from the Srimad Bhagavatam, where it says, Kiratu hunandra pulinda pulukasha abhirashamba yavana kasaraya yene chapapa yarapashraya shraya shudyanti tasmai prabhavishnave namaha. And in that verse, which is one of the theme verses for ISKCON, Shukadev Goswami mentions the Kiratas. And the whole list is of people who are so far outside of the Varnashram system that they're considered to be untouchable. So, whomever his parents were, he, who would become Valmiki Muni in the future, began as a Kirat. And he was not called Valmiki at that time, but he was just one of the tribe. And in the life of the Kirats, many of them lived by stealing. Those who were pilgrims who had come through the mountainous region on pilgrimage would be assailed by these very ferocious hill people. And Kirat, who would soon or later become Valmiki, was among the thieves and those who would accost people, sometimes even killing them. He had a very rough beginning in his life as a barbarous person. There's one day when Kirat was out looking for some unsuspecting pilgrims. He saw in the forest a group of sages, the 7 sages, and among them was Narada Muni. Thinking that, oh, these sages congregated in the forest are ripe for the picking. I will attack them, I'll take all their wealth, and I'll abscond back to my village in the hills. And just as he broke through the brush to attack the 7 sages, Narada and the other sages turned to see this disheveled figure holding a knife and making a battle cry as he was about to charge them. But somehow or other, by the countenances of the sages, Valmiki was taken aback and he could hardly move. Narada said to him, "Oh, you want to steal from us?" And Valmiki haltingly said, "Yes, yeah, that was my plan." Narada said, "That's fine. You can take our wealth, but first you have to answer our questions." So he asked Kirat, "Are you willing to accept the reactions from stealing from us and from the violence you're committing to people and animals? And what's more, is your family, who you're taking these goods to and who you're sharing your wealth with, that you're stealing and killing for, are they willing to suffer the reaction for your work?" Somehow, Kirat was taken aback by these questions. He had never thought of them before. He just went on stealing, killing. Now, feeling the good effects of the association of the sages headed by Narada, he said, "Well, I'll go and ask them." So he turned around and made his journey back to his village. Exhausted and out of breath, yet excited to hear what they would say, he told how he had met the sages, how they had asked him, and rather informed him that even the family members present there today would have to suffer the reactions for his stealing. And he said, "Are you willing to accept the reactions for this along with me for stealing?" One by one, and then as a collective, they said, "No, we will not accept the reactions." Disheartened by what he heard, and now thinking for the first time in his life about the reactions that he would receive, what to speak of his family, he hurried back to meet Narada again. This time in a different mood. Rather than wanting to steal from them, he wanted to learn from Narada and the sages. What can I do? How can I be released from the horrors that await me from all of the sinful ways in which I've maintained myself and my family? Narada consulted with the rest of the sages, and then he came back to Kirat. And he said, "We have a prescription for you that you would chant the name, the sacred name, Rama." And Kirat, taking the prescription, as now he felt beholden to the sages and eager to follow them, followed their direction to sit down and to begin chanting the name Rama. But as he opened his mouth, his tongue froze. He could not utter the name. He could not say even one syllable of the sacred name. Disappointed and now alarmed, he then consulted Narada and the sages, saying, "I believe in the prescription you've given me, but my tongue will not utter it. I feel I'm overcome by the sinful reactions already, and they're preventing me from saying this sacred mantra you've given me." Narada and the sages again consulted. They came back to Kirat, and they said, "Instead of chanting this name, which is a sacred name of God, we prescribe for you a different mantra. Mara means I'm a killer." As he heard this, and he began to say the syllables Mara again and again, and he continued to say them, he found himself chanting Rama 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 Rama, hearing this mantra and seeing that Kirat was fully engaged. The sages turned and went to their next destination. Many, many years later, they returned to see Kirat, and where they had left him, they found only an anthill. They came close to the anthill, Narada placing his ear upon it. He could hear deep inside the anthill, Rama, 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 Rama. Narada, knowing that his disciple was inside the anthill, called, "Come out!" Hearing the voice of his master, Kirat suddenly stood up, breaking the anthill. And as he emerged from the anthill, Narada said, "Your name is Valmiki." In Sanskrit, the word Valmiki means one who emerged from an anthill. Chanting over decades, centuries, being absorbed in the mantra, his heart became pure. He was a new person. He made his journey to meet Sita and Ram. And as we know from the Ramayana, he took to a life of compassion. What's more, he became so empowered by chanting the Ram mantra that he was appointed the author, to be the author of the Ramayana. And so powerful was the name of Ram in his life that he wrote the pastimes of Ram as if he was seeing them in his own room. They were taking place right before his eyes, and all he had to do was write down the activities in detail, which formed the Ramayana. Srila Prabhupada brought the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and distributed it liberally everywhere he brought it. People would come together. I was in San Francisco today with a group of very new participants in the Krishna consciousness movement. And I took them to a couple places in the city where the old temple used to be and where Prabhupada used to stay. They were walking behind me, and I noticed that they couldn't stop chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Everywhere he went, they kept the vibration going. And I felt the same power. Anyone from any position of life, whether one be a kirat or a person on the street in San Francisco, or what to speak of somebody with a high birth being born from devotee parents, who takes the sacred name of the Lord and repeats it again and again, will certainly, as the Bhagavatam says, apana samsritim gorondya nama vivashogranan tata sadyo vimucheta yabibheti swayambayam. The Lord gives protection to anyone who calls his name. What's more, by chanting Hare Krishna, the heart becomes pure and one can see the Lord directly, just as Valmiki saw the pastimes of the Lord. Those who chant Hare Krishna will come to know their eternal relationship with Krishna. Om Tat Sat. Ijo des, as they say in Japan, the end. Okay, Brajaraz Bhavana, what's next?
Thank you, Mars. That was a wonderful rendition of that story, and the slides are so beautiful to go with it. Now we'll
Thank
be
you, Bhaktin Manya, for the slides. Hare Krishna.
Jai. Now we'll be heading over to our breakout room discussions. So you've all been randomly assigned to a room, and we have some discussion questions prepared for you. So please just try to recollect what you learned from the talk, and you can continue the conversation in your rooms.
If you don't have a breakout room assignment, just stay here, and then you'll be with Anapayani Bhakti.
Well, everyone, are you having trouble joining your breakout rooms? Or like it didn't assign you?
No one called me into the background.
Okay, let me put you in.
Nope, nobody assigned me.
Okay, yeah, I'm assigning. Okay, let me assign you guys to your breakout rooms. Sorry for the delay.
I just joined, so that's why I didn't think it's
No worries, no worries.
we'll just wait for everyone to come back from their rooms as they finish up and leave, and then we'll continue with that program.
Welcome everyone back from your breakout rooms. Did you have a nice discussion? And if you did, so react with some fun emoji. Okay, wow, it's so good to see that everyone had a nice time. As usual, now we're gonna go around. If anyone liked something that someone else said in their breakout room, please raise your hand and share something nice you heard from your room. If you found anything inspiring or it stuck out to you. So we'll just go through a couple of those before we go into the more general reflections. All right, Bredras Bhavana.
Hare Krishna. I had Indira and Rian in my room, and Rian made a really nice point. So we were talking about how others have like helped us in like times of hardship and how they've shown like compassion and kindness. And he was talking about how his dad, while he was learning how to ride a bike, was really kind to him and very encouraging. And because of that, he was actually able to, because he felt like he wasn't doing a great job at the beginning, but because of that compassion, he was able to feel like he could do it, and now Rion can ride a bike, from what he said, and so that was a wonderful success story.
Wow, that's so good to hear. Adriraj?
I had Nitai, Agniva, and Haridas in my room, and we were discussing the question about how we can look at our own growth and improve ourselves. And we kind of, all three of them said something that consolidated into some really nice points. Nitai said that Valmiki didn't just stop when he couldn't say Rama, but he actually went to seek help from Narada Muni. And Agniba said that it's important to identify our own flaws in order to improve. And then Haridas finally hit it out of the ballpark by saying, don't give up when we reach obstacles. So I thought that was some really helpful advice for improving ourselves.
Wow, that was really nice. And Nitai, that was such a nice observant point of how Valmiki didn't give up. So thank you for being observant. Chaitanya Nitai Nam.
Hare Krishna. I had Jia and Kirtaniya Gora and Navya in my breakout room, and I made an interesting discovery that we had a small team of self-realized book distributors in that room because they all gave the same example and their own experiences of how when they were feeling kind of, dejected or, losing hope on a book distribution journey or adventure, uh, as a senior devotee, told them that basically don't be rejected or dejected, and either just give them a lollipop or some sort of prasadam or just have them chant the holy name, and it's beneficial for them. And as long as some benefit is there, there's nothing to worry about. And it was a really nice example of how they also felt motivated because of how a senior devotee encouraged them. So that was a nice experience to see all of them have that realization.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing that one. Parth, go ahead.
So, in response to the question about the power of chanting, Avani shared a verse, Chaitanya Charitamrita and Lila 20.11. The translation says, simply by chanting the holy name of Lord Krishna, one can be freed from all undesirable habits. This is the means of awakening all good fortune and initiating the flow of waves of love for Krishna, which I thought was a really powerful verse. And I was also very impressed that he thought of that off the top of his head when I asked the question. And this verse is going to stick with me. He also mentioned that he reads it before he chants to help him remember why he's chanting and the power of chanting, which is a habit that I'm going to try to take away today.
Wow, that is so nice. I think these breakout rooms are especially beneficial because we're learning about everyone's talents and their personal practice. So it's really nice to hear how everyone's progressing. Marge, go ahead.
I think you're on mute, Marge.
In my room, I had the pleasure of being with Saki Vrinda, Tungavidya, and Ryan. And regarding the first question, Saki Vrinda quoted a verse from Queen Kunti, Twaime Ananya Vishaya. And it was about, the first question was about how to help somebody who feels insincere, so much so that they don't want to chant. They feel like it's not worth it. So she said that if you have the desire, even if you feel insincere, if you just start, and she quoted Kunti, how it's like a river and how it'll carry you along like a Ganges. The name will help you. And to the same point, Tungavidya said that she had heard a lecture recently by Hari Parshada Prabhu from the Shikshashtakam, and how he had emphasized how there's no rules for chanting, and that you can chant the holy name even when you wake up before you brush your teeth, because there's no hard and fast rule, and in any situation you can chant. And then Ryan gave this very direct, helpful thing, observation. He said, I would help somebody who said that by just saying, try it anyway, even if you don't feel ready, because it'll have its own force.
Thank you so much. Those are some really nice points. I will be remembering the river analogy that Saki Vrinda shared as well. Anyone else that wants to share? Maybe you can share what you said, if or whoever, like what your group said. Anything else that you liked? Tungavidya?
Hare Krishna. I'll share. Gurudev had a really sweet response in relation to the second topic we talked about, which was the question was about when had someone done something really kind for you, and how had that made a lasting impact on you. And so Gurudev was sharing this story about when he first visited the temple in downtown San Francisco. I believe it was Krita Varma Prabhu who was outside, and he just immediately engaged Gurudev in some sort of service in hosing down the alleyway. And so he was talking about how that left a lasting impact on him, because it was clear that Prabhu knew what he was doing and engaging another devotee in service.
Thank you so much, Tungavidya, for sharing that gem with the rest of us. If that's everyone, I think Marge maybe you can lead us in closing reflections, or however else you'd like to spend the last 10 minutes.
Sure. We're already warmed up because the group and the discussion, it kind of gets everything loosened. So it's a good time near the end, sharing realizations from your life, anything that you're seeing from living your life and being in Krishna consciousness at the same time. We sort of live this dual existence where we go to school or you have interactions with the world in various ways, but you're also chanting Hare Krishna. What are you seeing? What are you feeling? What are you hearing? What are you angry about? What do you care about most? What are you concerned about? Or what are you seeing? What kind of revelations are you getting? That sort of thing. It's just Guya Makyati Prichati, talking about how your life is going, because it's really helpful to hear from those who are similarly engaged and situated. What do you think? Okay, Kirtani Agora's got two hands up, really enthusiastic. Just kidding, Kirtani Agora. Okay, sharing means caring. Adri Raj.
A couple weeks ago, I got a few compliments on my neck beads from some peers in school, and I was just thinking about how people really appreciate the Vaishnav culture, even if they don't know necessarily what it is. And so we don't have to try to hide that part of ourselves. We can outwardly express who we are, and people will really appreciate that.
Who's next? Somebody else? Oh, it's Brajaras Bhavana. Please go ahead.
When Adiraj was saying his story, I also had a story for my neck beads. I recently went to my barber and she was like, "Oh, you got three." And then I was like, "Yeah." It's like I usually see people with like one or two. I've never seen a three. And I was like, "Yeah, to take some vows for this one." And I was like, "Whoa, that's so cool."
Yeah, it's a real reminder too. That's great. Okay, neck beats for 500. Go ahead. Who's next? Sharing means caring. Thoughts, observations, books you're reading, books you refuse to read. Tungavidya.
I'll keep the neck beads theme going.
Okay.
Um, so after getting initiated, I think because of the way things kind of process pretty quickly for me, I definitely had a hard time just realizing that I'd even gotten initiated. And so the one thing that always kept reminding me is the fact that I have a habit even with my old neck beads that I had a little pendant on it and I'd always touch it and like sort of mess with it. And so now when I go do that, I realize there's something else. It's a kavacha now, and my beats feel different. And so that always reminds me, it's a very physical and very sweet reminder of the fact that I'm always connected to the Guru Parampara and just it's also in ways it's a sweet reminder, but it's also a bit of a warning. Like I think a warning is a bad way to express it, but um it's a very like strong reminder that the way I express myself, the way I behave in public is also I'm now representing not just myself, but a much wider community of Srila Prabhupada. So it's important about just to understand like how I should be more conscious of how I act. And because I am now representing a much greater community.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Brajaras Bhavana.
May I ask a question, Maharaj?
Yes.
So there was a class today morning by a youth. So I'll just give a quick context to everyone else. It was around Dhruva Maharaj's life when he was an adult, and his brother was killed by a yaksha, and so he had gone to set for revenge and kill all the yakshas. But then he was stopped by his senior mentors. I believe Brahma also came down and requested him to stop the massacre and asked him um, to basically not be so attached. And the main conclusion, or one of the pearls of wisdom, as Nimai said it, was one should arrest attachment, but should still feel emotion. My question is that when it comes to like leaving out attachment, but also feeling emotion, how does one actually achieve that? Because when I feel emotion, I feel like it comes from a place of some attachment where like I feel sad if I wanted something and I didn't get it, or I feel happy if I wanted something and I did get it, or if I feel jealousy someone else has it. Like these kinds of emotions feel like they're very rooted in attachment. And so, how can we feel that emotion without feeling attached in that same sense?
Well, in the Gita, Krishna says that when he's asked by Arjuna, what is the sign of a self-realized person? The first description he gives is Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogatan atman yeva atmanatushta stita pragnasta dochite. The indication there, Prajahati means he has the wherewithal to objectify what's going on inside. Means you're not pulled away by it. Prajahati Dakaman, Sarvam Partha Manogatan means the mind is constantly manufacturing these desires, emotions, but the person is Prajahati. It has a space between them. So although the person's feeling them, because it's part of body, the body, mind, all these impressions are stored there, and they do come out when they're stimulated by the external environment. But one who's self-realized, Stita Prajna, is not obligated to chase them. So you might have an experience where some anger arises. So you drive in a car, somebody cuts you off, and you may feel anger arise, but then because you have this steadiness of mind, that's produced by bhakti. Vasudevi Bhagati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Jana Yashuvaya Gam Gyanam Chayarahaitukam. You have knowledge and you have detachment. Even though you see the energy arise, you notice, oh yeah, that's something coming from an impression in my body, and you don't have to identify with it. And all the workings of the body, including the subtle body, become objectified like that by, as Krishna says, a self-realized person. So on a very practical level, and actually this question came up today when I was meeting with these new-ish devotees downtown San Francisco, and one was asking about anger and how to overcome it. And I had suggested that when you deliberate about these points, that there are emotions that do come up, like let's take anger for example, and you've thought about it and you've learned how to identify it when it's coming, then when it does come, you can objectify it much more quickly than other people who just get pulled away by that emotion. One of the memes that I think of oftentimes is something that Brajabihari Prabhu once told me. You know, he was in conflict counseling for many, many years, and he's seen his share of people get angry with one another. And he described the inverse relationship between reason and emotion. Normally, when you become pulled away by an emotion, then your reasoning power goes down. And that's why people do foolish things oftentimes when some very strong emotion comes over them. And just knowing that, that's a kind of deliberation about how the body's working, how the emotions are working. So, for instance, let's say if I felt some anger coming into my mental system suddenly, and that graph then comes into my mind. And instead of answering somebody, for instance, somebody might send an insulting email. You pick up on the subtlety of it and you go, oh yeah, they meant to insult me. And then the anger comes up, so I'll just write them back such and such, something sarcastic or something. And then that graph comes in your mind, go, you're not thinking clearly right now, right? So don't drink and drive. Don't answer when you're intoxicated or your reason is being clouded. So preparation is part of it. The other is purity over time, helps one to not have such intense emotions based on not getting what you want and so forth. Chaitanya Nitai Nam, Namine Che, Namirhate, Sharamulyanam Tite Chere. That's the rest of your name, but we didn't put it all on there. So
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I saw that well, when you were here a few weeks ago, and I also saw that you were talking about that in the morning class at ISV today, that you were driving through, we were driving to Irvine, and there was a business park that you passed by, and it was, you asked, I think, that it was, is this a prison? There was that one big building that they're still building now. And just a status update, they put in windows, so it looks kind of like one of those modern prisons, but I was thinking because I didn't used to pay attention. I always drive that direction for work and school, and I never really paid attention. But after you mentioned that, it was like every time I come back home, it's like this must be what, like, going back to the spiritual world must feel like, because it just feels much more pleasant in the residential area coming back from that whole just chaotic area in the so I was just reflecting on that. It was really nice that you made that analogy, and also like I got reminded when you brought it up this morning.
yeah, when you said that, then I remembered I said that this morning in class, and then we were together when that happened. Thank you for carrying that through, the realization. Fantastic. Yeah, it's visceral. We experience the happiness of spiritual life very directly, and the environment has everything to do with it. Indira,
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Can I divert the topic and ask a different question?
Yep.
Thank you. So this is actually like a burning question that I had this week. And I don't know how to ask it like a question. So I just want to share my thoughts. Um, so I was reading this book called Perfect Question and Answers by Prabhupada. And in one of his conversations, he says that an Uttama Adhikari is like the first class devotee, is someone who sees everyone as a devotee. And one example is Radharani. So in her point of view, everyone is a devotee and there's no such thing as non-envious people. But then we also have this kind of regulation in ISKCON, right? Like when we're trying to progress, that we should not associate with non-devotees. So I I was a little confused. How do you like bridge those two?
Oh, what a great question. Thanks for asking. I'll be brief because we're over time. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, specifically in the 11th canto, when this topic comes up to the Nava Yogindras, it's Havi Yogendra, because there's Kavi Havi Antariksha Prabhuda Pipalayana Chamasa Drumala and Karbajana. And so he mentions three levels of devotees. First comes the one you talked about, Sarva Bhuteshu Napashyed Bhagavat Bhavamatmanaha Bhuteshu Bhagavadyatmani Esha Bhagavatotama, means that's the highest class person who just sees Krishna's energies working, and then the way he sees it is everyone's already engaged. There's no preaching there. But then the next class is described as the Madhyama, the middle level, who's the preacher devotee who interacts with the world and tries to bring people to Krishna consciousness. He says, Ishvare taradineshu balisheshu dusatsucha prema maitri kripopekshaya karoti samadhyamaha, which means that we're in the middle position as preachers. We're meant to make distinctions. And here are the distinctions. He mentions that there are those who are innocent, those who are first he says you should know Bhagavan and offer your love. Then you should know the devotees and you should make friendship with the devotees. Then he said you should know the innocent, those who are open to hearing about Krishna, and you should give as much mercy as possible. And finally he says you should know the envious, people who are envious of Krishna, and you should not try to engage them because it'll make them worse. It'll make them more envious. And so that's a stricture that you should make the distinctions. Nor we're not supposed to also imitate the highest level of devotee and pretend that everyone's just the same. That's a very neophyte thing to do, is people pretend that they're more advanced than they are. So the distinction part is what we're meant to follow, is to make those distinctions. And we can give you the verse numbers. There's one more that describes the Kanishta, or the lowest level of devotee. And it says, Archarya mevahare pujam ya sharaye hite natat bhakti shuchanyesu sabhakta prakrita smritas, the materialistic devotee on the very beginning level, who only sees the deity in the temple and disregards everybody else, including the devotees. That doesn't see that devotees can, he doesn't know what a devotee is, really, just sees himself in Krishna, and he also doesn't know how to do good for others, like the Madhyama or the preacher. That's your 3-minute answer. I hope it helped. If there's more, we can follow up on it at the next time, because it's a very deep question, and if you read those sections, there's lots of commentary on it and lots of nuance. And thanks for asking such a nice question. I think that brings us past the time. Thank you very much, everybody, for letting me in, even though I was late. And it was a great session. Really enjoyed seeing everybody. Any last words from you, Prajaras Bhavana or Anapayani Bhakti? Dear Srila Prabhupada, dear Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Shri Shri Panchatattva, Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan, Shri Shri Lakshmi Nrsingadev. If you so desire, please bless everyone who joined Youth Jam today, everyone who thought about joining Youth Jam, those who wanted to join Youth Jam, but they couldn't get a connection, those who thought about joining Youth Jam, they fell asleep, that they always may have a taste for chanting the holy names, associating with devotees, and also showing compassion to all living beings by distributing the holy names. Thank you for considering our request. Om Tat Sat. Everyone agrees with this prayer in whole or in part. Please unmute and say Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Sunday, Hari
Krishna.
Bol. Hare Krishna. See you all soon. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna, please join us next week at the same time, 3 p.m. PST. Hare Krishna.